Hello everybody and welcome to the Copa Libertadores group stages. It's episode 74 and we get this campaign underway against one of the big underdogs of the tournament. They are known as the strongest. They are from Bolivia, specifically La Paz, one of the major cities of Bolivia, and we should be getting off to the perfect start in this tournament, as the strongest have been in the Copa Libertadores quite often, but they've never really made any significant progress. As you can see, they've lost the vast majority of their games, but you never really know with them. They drew with Vasco last season, so they could provide a bit of a punch, and Bolivia have some great players dotted around the globe. If we take a look at Bolivia, they've got a player at Manchester United, they've got someone at Atletico Madrid, Bursaspor, the Columbus Crew, Santos and San Etienne as their top six, and they are 57th in the world, so that's not too bad. But we can't really have any confidence in this tournament if we go out and lose this game. So especially with the home advantage, I'm very, very confident we can go out and win the tournament. Group stages anyway. But the one thing I'm going to inform you guys, if you're not familiar with the layout of this cup, is how you advance into the knockout rounds. So rather than an open draw, we are placed into two tables. We've got the first place teams and the second place teams. So as far as I can understand, the team that finishes first in the first place teams table will play the eighth place team in the second position table, so that gives the winners of the group a massive advantage. But if you finish first, or if you finish eighth in the first place teams table, then you're going to play the very best runner-up, and that could prove to be very challenging indeed, because some of these clubs could prove to be very, very formidable in the knockout stages, and Vasco have been victim of such an occurrence. If we take a look at the first place teams, Vasco finished 7th in this table, so that meant they'd play the second place team that came second, and that was Colo Colo. And in fact, as a matter of fact, Colo Colo won the knockout round, even though the two teams have been familiar with each other in the group stages. So that's something we're going to have to be very wary about. Whereas if we had finished in first place last year, which Palmeiras managed, they would have played Barcelona of Ecuador. So if that makes sense, that's perfect. But if I haven't made it perfectly clear, then please let me know and I'll try and amend that for you. But from what I can understand is it's pretty simple. You win your games, you get your best possible goal difference, and then your goal scored followed by away goal scored. So if any tiebreakers occur, that will be what happens. Excuse me. So we'll go back to the profile and the stages, and we'll see what the second round looked like, or the quarterfinal. It must be an open draw. Like I wouldn't understand any other scenario, but we'll keep an eye out as we hopefully make our way through the tournament. Any other things I really need to mention? Yes, there is one thing, and it's the player that I brought in as a result of some strikers getting injured, and he's not going to be a starter, but he could be a very useful player. His name is Oswaldo Alfredo. He's on loan from Roma, so we seem to have a bit of a business agreement with the capital club in Italy. They seem to be blessed with Brazilians, and we have the ability to take them on loan if they're not getting enough first team football. But I don't consider him quite good enough to be a leading striker for the club just yet. But he's 6'5", he's got great heading ability, he's super strong, and he can make good decisions. So I'd say in the Rio tournaments, which you can play in, he will score some goals. But some injury news: we've got Luis out for 2 to 3 weeks. We've Migales out for 2 to 3 weeks. Pedro and Batista are still coming back from injury, and we've got all sorts of other players that are probably tired from the last game. So I still have a very good team to select, and you're allowed 30 players in this Copa Libertadores, which I will be using to my greatest effect. So without further ado, let's get into this live comm and certainly this team with Bernal, Guedes, Sosa, Adrelison, Ivo, Centurion, Alexandre, Xavier, Barrios, Nildo and Croatia, they should all be more than good enough to survive in this tournament and get the win today. But we'll see what the strongest have in opposition for me, as their league isn't counted as a licensed league. Like, you can't play it unless you have edited the database, and some of their players have not loaded, so I expect a big victory today. Nothing has changed since our last Rio State Championship game. We were able to watch the draw for the tournament, and now we're immediately thrust into the action. So let's just see what these guys have available. So they've got Silva. He's a real player, could be very good. He's an excellent finisher, but he hasn't scored too often as the season's only begun. They've got Vargas, another player's been given regen, or he is a regen, sorry. They've got Flores, don't know what he's about. He's a defender and they're playing him on the wings. And then Carlos Mesa, who is a regen, but I have no idea about his stats. And they've got a few other players we'll take a look at in a moment. But anyway, the crowd should be really hyped about this one. We're in the brand new stadium again, and we should only fail this result if we play poorly. Like, I don't know what else could happen, but it looks like these guys have some generated players that I don't have any information about. But we can't put our heads down and think we're going to play poorly. Let's just go out there and dominate. That's what I insist upon. This tactic is a bit more attack oriented, with the expressive and roam from positions instructions. One thing I'm going to turn off probably is to use, I think we can turn off the whipped crosses and go for mixed, just to get things going. We'll turn on the sounds and we'll say a team should be winning with minimum fuss. Usually that backfires on me, but we'll just see how it goes. I'll be keeping an eye out on Colo Colo and Argentinos Juniors as well. Well, let's sit back and enjoy our debut in the Copa Libertadores. We are definitely a team that should be getting out of this stage. So unlike Shentra, where I got a little overconfident, I really have to be very optimistic of our chances of getting out of this group, even if it is one of the ones I didn't want. There's a bad pass, but the strongest are definitely giving us something to think about. Montano giving away, trying to intercept the ball there. Guedes tries a hoof ball forward. It did not pay off. Fernandez into Vargas and Silva! He scored inside 3 minutes. Oh, no way. This is a massive disaster unless we equalise here. It's Croatia. Well, if we're going to be getting a one-way traffic game, then we're going to have to prove it. It's certainly a bizarre start to the game. 1 goal from each side in the first 5 minutes, and it seems to be a ping-pong affair. Centurion tries to ground us and get us back moving. Croatia into Guedes, who's already got an assist for himself. Alexandre, lovely pass. Guedes, low into Croatia, and we have 3 goals in the first 5 minutes. That is very, very rare, and that makes it 2-1. Nildo into Ivo, Alexandre, well blocked. A goal for Argentinos Juniors. That's good news for me. I don't want an optimistic Colo Colo team that will be bouncing and looking forward to playing us in the next game. But yes, what a bizarre start to the match, giving away that early goal, but making sure we got the lead straight back. 2-1. I'll be certainly cutting out some of these parts if they're not necessary. But Croatia already on a hat-trick. We're giving the ball away too often for my liking. But as I say, I'm stuck with the philosophies of the board, and if I fail to keep them, I will be in trouble. Croatia! That was his hat-trick opportunity. Silva on the counter. He's got blistering pace, but unfortunately that cross was pretty poor. Gabriel Xavier, he's on the move, but he drills it wide as Colo Colo have an equaliser. Push forward. I want more goals. We're not safe at 2-1. Carlos Mesa. There's a through ball. 2-2. Carlos Silva, my goodness me. Well, is this a turnout for the Bucks? I don't know. But my God, this is absolutely crazy. Silva closed down by Barrios. And as things stand, all four teams have a single draw. Nildo to clear. Correia, move it. No, it's a terrible pass. Where has my defence gone? Tighten up. We're down to third. It's Colo in the lead now. My day certainly can't get any worse than this. Come on. Correia. Centurion, yellow card already. Xavier, Correia blocked. The fans must be so angry at this performance, and I can't blame them. Not a good corner, but Nildo takes a tumble. Never going to be a foul. Vaca has trying to set something up here. He goes into the feet of a teammate, and it didn't pay off. Now it's 2-2 in that game, and we go bottom by some sort of bizarre order. I suppose it'll be away goal scored or something else, and that's a great save by the keeper. Goodness, come on. This is a bad performance. Xavier's free kick finds a yellow shirt. Counter-attack on here. Oh, Centurion is sent off. Oh, what a disaster. We should be cruising in this match, and yet we're now down to 10 men. Oh my God. Alexandre can play defensive midfielder, but he prefers being a playmaker, so we'll just make him that. We'll bring back Nildo and Xavier. My head is definitely wrecked. I have no explanation for this abomination, but either way we're not making our chances count. That's not good enough, so we'll turn off that and we'll stick to positions just so we know where everybody is. But we can still win the game with 10 men. But why did I use that bloody team talk? I'm not happy. Very disappointing. We've every chance of winning this group, and we're blowing it so soon. Like, you thought it'd be a walk in the park, especially at home, but that's not going to be the case unless we actually prove it in the second half. We're going to stay on counter-attack. We might turn that off and shoot on sight just to make sure we're dominating the game. Conceding those goals has really made things more difficult than they need to be. But if we get the win here, we will have some sort of control. Nildo tries to find Correia. Xavier, he scored 3 goals already for me. Nildo, try again, friend. Low cross this time, and it was a bit of a scuff. One more goal. No, it's a double team tackle. Alexandre to Barrios. Barrios piling into the box, but he sliced the ball with the inside of his boot, and that went over the bar. Xavier. Oh, what a finish! Great goal. 3-2. And now it's time for a little concentration. What a goal that was, though. It reminds me of some of those great goals over the years. You see players cutting inside and hammering home with their left foot. I'm sure you can think of some great examples. I have a few in my head, but you know, I might forget something obvious if I say what it is. Could this be 4-2 and game over? No, Ivo decides to keep it in. We got the throw in as Flores nodded it out, and they've brought on Osinaga. So Osinaga could be a very good player. He's a defender. What are they doing? Gabriel Mesa. Oh, he's a different one, is he? Yes, he's a different guy. So Gabriel Mesa is playing DM, so we'll just close him down. And let's just see what our guys have left in the tank. We don't have a good striker on the bench at the moment, so we'll just leave our options open and just try and secure this result. But we've turned out pretty nicely for the second half. Xavier to put the game to bed. Barrios, what an amazing pass! But Correia just didn't have the balance to put that one in the back of the net. Time for another substitute, and then we'll make the final change later. So that makes perfect sense to me. So, whoops. Sorry, there we go. Xavier, tackled by Gabriel Mesa. There was a claim of a dive, and it's not going to be given as a yellow card, which is probably the fairest decision. Will these guys stand any chance of a red card? Not on this display. but the game looks to be petering out now, and make sure we're tightening up. They brought on Vaca for Vaca. Interesting. They all seem to have similar names. Nildo, Batista. Oh, what a finish that would have been. He really wanted to put that one in the corner, and the risk didn't pay off. Now we have to be very careful. The time is on our side, but they could spring one more attack. Batista goes out all alone on the right hand side. Barrios wins it back. Batista goes for the deepest corner again, but it's saved nicely by their keeper. Gabriel Xavier takes his time at the corner, but that was terrible. He should have been a bit more careful. But now here's Fernandez to try and steal the point away from the away game from their point of view. I forget the name of the stadium already. Batista gives it away cheaply. Lenale is the name of their keeper. He goes forward with the route one. It didn't work. Nildo, he's had an okay game, but it could have been better if that cross made its destination. We have 3 minutes of injury time. We need to encourage how the guys are playing. We have them on our half of the pitch, or where we want them to be. Let's see, we're heading into 90 minutes now. That's a goal for Argentinos Juniors. What a team they could be. But we'll have to do better in the next game if we're going to make a real impact on the tournament. Giving 2 goals away like this is still really disappointing, but the 3 points are the 3 points. Evander to Xavier. What a game he's had. Such a good player. Barrios out wide to Guedes. The keeper acrobatically reaches out for that one, and he made it count. Route 1 again not working, but we've let the ball trickle out of play. The strongest looking hit double figures for shots taken, and this could be their chance. Silva. Oh, it's an interception. Batista gives it away, gets it back, and gives it away, but it was a foul, so we'll let him away with that one. Xavier goes on his left foot, taking his time. It's a great low cross, but it's saved from Nildo. The young man, as I said, he's had a good game. Good header, and Batista's offside, but that could waste the final few seconds. And there it is, full time, 3-2 to Vasco da Gama. And we've really been given a what am I trying to say? We're brought back down to earth as we were cruising in the Rio State Championships, and now in what was supposed to be the easiest game of the lot, we conceded 2 goals, but we got 3 in the end. So I'll just say well done. Some of you could have played better. Certainly Centurion should have stayed on the pitch. He gave me no alternative because it was all in the first half. You don't substitute players in the first half unless you really, really have to. Guillermo's an important player, so he will be back soon. But we deserved the win. Maybe should have defended better. But Carlos Silva, I do respect how well he played in a hostile environment. But we will move on to the next game against Colo Colo in episode 75 of what has been an amazing Pentagon challenge. Even though we've only been in 3 countries, I have to say I've enjoyed it so much. So that game is in 2 weeks' time. We have lots of games to play in the Rio State Championship, including one against Fluminense in a week's time. So if you can join me for the big game at the Monumental, then I have a treat for you in store, I'm sure. And I hope to see you there. Bye now.